You're listening to the Getting Social podcast, where we get social on entrepreneurship and everything that comes with it. Oh, hello. Welcome to the Getting Social podcast. I am your host, Jeff Policard, and this little black book is much different than the one you might have had during your school years. This is the little black book of social media. You might have heard about it on social media, most likely. Today, I have the honor and absolute pleasure to have the co-author of this little black book, Dr. Sharmin Attaran, on the show. Here's an example of what to expect from our conversation. Did you know that in some cases, the average order value coming from your social media traffic is 4 times greater than the average order? Think about this for a few seconds. So anyway, by now you have a pretty good idea of what we'll be talking about. So let's go straight to it. It's time to get literally social. All right, Sharmin. Well, first of all, thank you so much for being part of the show. It's such a pleasure to have you. I'm super excited for so many reasons. The fact that you're a marketing professor at Bryant University, where I got my marketing degree, is exciting to me. And I get asked this question of why marketing so many times. So I'm going to return the favor to you and ask you, why did you choose marketing and what got you into teaching?
Well, thank you so much, Jeff. It's an honor to be a part of your show. And it's always great to connect with alumni and see the cool things they're doing. And this is very cool. So I appreciate the invite. So how I got started, I went to UCLA pre-med, and I quickly realized that that was not my passion. And I studied economics and also random. But before graduation, I started working on the marketing team for Vitamin Water. Do you remember Vitamin Water?
Absolutely.
So around 2001, they had just moved from Whitestone, New York to the LA market. And I was doing, really fun trade shows and promotions, and I loved it. But I had never taken a marketing class. And I had already, at this point now, graduated from my undergrad. So my father, who is actually a management professor for over 30 plus years, he suggested I take a marketing course at his university. So I did. I took consumer behavior, and I fell in love. The light bulb went off in my head, and I thought, wow, if I could read and write and talk about this forever, I just found my passion. And I've actually been teaching that class for over 15 years now.
Wow.
And I realized, it's so great to be able to kind of talk about what you love on a daily basis. So, but when it comes to, say, like digital marketing specifically, I've been at Bryant now this will be my 11th year. I was advising students, I would say 5-6 years ago, advising their internships. And I realized that employers assumed that students were qualified to run their social media because they were young. Right? They said, well, you're in college, you're on Facebook and Snapchat and whatever that, they call like Tweeter, they didn't know, Twitter. And I knew they were not prepared. And I realized there was a gap that needed to be filled. And so I started designing first just a digital marketing course, which later I developed into the digital marketing concentration at Bryant University. And that just launched this past fall. So we have kind of a couple of courses that students can go through. And, in the meantime, I was developing my own skill set. I started consulting. I wanted to make sure that I was at the top of my game in an area that I wasn't trained in, right? And now I was able to kind of take those real world experiences into the classroom. So that's kind of how it happened. I think becoming a professor was something I had observed my father doing for so long. I used to sit in on his classes. I saw his passion for what he does, and the lifestyle, and it was appealing. So here we are.
So consumer behavior, obviously, I think in marketing, especially nowadays, it's everything. You need to know who your audience is, for sure, in order for you to talk to them. And the second thing that made me laugh a little bit was, you know, um, uh, businesses and people basically hiring college students and young people because they're on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and all those social platforms, thinking that hey, they're young, so they must know how to deal with that. Is funny because as a marketer myself, I hear that all the time. Like, who's handling your social media right now? Oh, my niece or my nephew, or
Yes,
uh,
yes, very common.
yeah, and although sometimes I understand because they are very active on it, they I guess learn a lot faster than we can. But there's a science behind it. There's a lot more to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So my next question to you is I've actually had the privilege of mentoring young marketers, and not only in marketing in general but in life, and I found that in most cases that I learned just as much from them. And in this fast-paced digital marketing space, how do you think you've learned from your students?
Oh my gosh, I'm always learning from my students. It is such a fast paced, dynamic area. And that's part of what I really love about it.
Hmm.
I can't actually walk into any class without updating my slides. So I can't use the same slides from the previous semester. I'm like, when is this prep going to end? And it doesn't. And, it keeps me on my toes. But one of the things we do in my classes, in the digital marketing and social media classes, is that we work with clients. And in an effort to kind of give back to our community, we work with clients in our community. So small businesses, nonprofits, the local mom and pop coffee shop, entrepreneurs, influencers. And because of that, we're working with so many different types of people. I've had sometimes 13 clients a semester,
Wow.
which, I don't get much sleep, but it's fine. And we learn not only the behavior and the attitudes of clients, which vary greatly, as I'm sure you know.
Hmm.
But we're also learning, obviously, all these different industries and strategies and goals. So I'm just constantly being challenged. My students are being challenged, and we're kind of learning together, right? Which is how I kind of like to run my class. But it is my job to kind of stay ahead of the game. And it's my job to make sure that students are leading in this field. So I'm constantly, challenging my own skill set. And one of the things that I'm also trying to work on, and maybe you'd like to be a part of, is we're trying to prepare students for industry, obviously. So I've started to develop kind of a mentoring program to pair alums, mentors with students. So if you'd like to be a part of that, that would be great, because we just want to make sure that we're prepping them for what the needs of industry are, and they're also receiving the guidance, from those that have some more experience. And again, I'm constantly learning from what we're doing in the classroom.
It would be an honor for me, honestly, and thank you for sure. Sign me up. I'll sign right now. you know,
Awesome, great,
no,
done.
yeah, for sure. Not only do I appreciate you and what you've done, and also because I'm attached to Bryant. These were some of the most special years in my life. I'm from Haiti, and when I moved to the States for the first time, I landed in Rhode Island, in Smithfield, Rhode Island. So
That's very different for you.
it's like a world of
I'm
difference.
from California. I understand.
Exactly.
New England is so beautiful,
It is.
and Bryant campus, I don't know when was the last time you've been, but it's just even more beautiful every year. We've got new buildings, a new academic innovation center. It's a gorgeous campus.
The last time I was there, I mean, I graduated in 2003. Probably last time was 10 to 12 years ago. So I'm
You
sure
definitely have to go back. There's a bunch of new buildings. It's a completely different place now. Really, really nice.
I'll make it a point to
Yeah.
actually have that road trip, and make
Yeah,
it
yeah.
make it happen for
Now's the
sure.
time to do the road trips.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So you said that you use actual businesses and nonprofits and stuff like that. I guess as part of your program to have real life experiences with the students, which is great. And I commend you and applaud you for accepting the fact that you're actually also learning from them, because it is a fast-paced industry, and it's changing so rapidly that it's hard to keep up, like in terms of algorithms, in terms of everything, right? Instagram and all these things are changing constantly, and I'm pretty sure, and I'm sure you have the same feeling that post COVID, we're probably expecting a lot more changes, right? Do you feel the same way, and what do you anticipate?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, people are online like never before,
Mm-hmm.
right? We have a captive audience, and now is the time to engage with them.
Mm-hmm.
People are spending more time online, they're buying online. Digital is becoming kind of the key trigger
Mm-hmm.
for discovering new places to shop, right? So, someone talks about something on social media, you might see an online ad, you might do your own kind of proactive online research. And compared to print, TV, radio ads, or hearing from a family and friend, right? You're seeing a lot more people kind of discover online. And as we as consumers kind of focus our attention on digital media while at home, advertisers are reporting that video, search, social, e-commerce are providing kind of the highest ROI. And another thing that, because we're spending so much time online, companies are starting to pay really close attention to attribution, right? So they're looking at what's the impact of our social media marketing, and how can we assign value to the channels that are sending us the most business,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there's like a company, made.com. They compared their average order value of people who went to their site from social and their site average. And the social media fans, they spent on average 4 times more per order.
Wow.
Right. And another thing that's happening now, obviously with COVID, we had, what did we have? 11, 12, well, yeah, we had 13 clients. I had 13 clients across 2 sections just in, spring semester. And COVID happens right before spring break, right? Everything's canceled. March 11th, we're home. And my students in the advanced class, they're starting to run social from the clients, right? So they're actually implementing the strategies they've developed. And one of the clients in my senior class, I just work with nonprofits, was the Providence Children's Museum. And what I realized is these companies, these nonprofits, these organizations need to think back to what value do they offer their customers, right? Taking it back to the mission, right? And we found that the mission of Providence Children's Museum was, helping them find ways to educate children, help them with sensory play, with discovery play, but they had to shut down their physical spaces.
Mm-hmm.
So what we suggested to them is continue providing that value to families, but online, right? So share fun at home activities online. And that really kind of invaluable information kept the audience connected. It kept them, top of mind for the kids and the parents. So when this is all over, that's kind of the place to be. And so that's kind of one of the suggestions we gave to all the clients. We had clients from all different, verticals, and it was really like, come back to your values, come back to your mission, and try to do that. We had, a gym. They're all about, helping people live a healthy lifestyle. Well, you can still communicate that online, even though people can't come through your doors.
Yep.
And that's the shift that was really hard for a couple clients to grasp, to understand how to communicate that through social, and how to kind of stay afloat. And the students were awesome. They were so, able to help these clients pivot. And I know it's a popular word,
Mm-hmm.
but they really did. And I was just so proud of them kind of being ahead of the game and really taking the consultant mindset and guiding these organizations towards, this new reality.
I think in these times it's important to communicate with your audience, and also how can we add value to the connections that we have. And I think that's where a lot of companies succeed. Once everything gets back to normal, quote unquote, because I think the normal is going to be different.
Yeah.
But once it gets back to that normal, we those companies are going to strive because they are building relationships with their followers and their audience,
Hmm.
and that's a perfect time to do that. And they will buy. It's just a matter of just keeping those relationships alive.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What other opportunities are you seeing in terms of like using social media, using digital marketing and marketing altogether, or and the internet altogether?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about the gym example, I've seen so much creativity. First of all, instead of it being this, you come into my brick and mortar gym and I provide you equipment, training, service, or class,
Mm-hmm.
you can now provide these classes online to a much larger audience. In fact, the entire world is your oyster.
Hmm.
So your reach is astronomically different than it is when you just invite people into your space. I've seen gyms loan out equipment as one stream of revenue.
Wow.
I've seen them kind of go online and provide classes and coach people at home. And everyone is living a new normal. They're finding ways to stay healthy and exercise that they didn't before, and ways to kind of join a community, right? And find, we're less able right now to kind of physically socialize, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now we're finding ways to socialize on the internet. And so this idea of engagement, right, with your community, with your audience, and even the potential to learn from your audience through social listening and monitoring is
Mm-hmm.
huge, right? And it's really going to inform the next product or service that you develop. So there's a lot that we can kind of use this time for. But I'm seeing really great opportunities out there to do things online and have a wider reach.
I mean, everything is online, obviously. Even concerts. Like I've watched a few concerts online, and I enjoy it. I don't have to go and get in line. I don't have to drive or Uber and
There's a level of intimacy I find with having the musician or a classmate or a professor or a coworker right on your screen, right?
yeah.
People kind of thought that it was going to be very awkward and distant, and people would be, disengaged, but I actually find it to be pretty intimate and just kind of face to face, right? Um,
That's true.
and I've done the same. I've witnessed, entertainers in their garage or living room speaking, and I feel like they're talking right to me
That's
instead of being
true.
lost in the crowd. Obviously, it's different in person. Obviously, live is so cool, but I think that it's a lot better than we thought it would be.
That is true. And I think there's a lot of pros. Everything has pros and cons, right? You're going to get the big sound, the thrills, the energy, all of that from the crowd. You can't replace
Right.
that.
Right.
But like you say, like I feel the same way. I feel like, man, these guys or, this group here is kind of like singing to me, like
Yeah.
specifically, right? So that's awesome. So now let's talk about your book. Let's talk about the little black book of social media that you co-wrote with Dr. Stephanie Boyer. I speak French, so I'm gonna say it that way.
Stephanie Boyer. But yeah, I'll tell her that you called it in such a cool way.
Yeah, because it's actually a popular name also in Haiti.
Oh, I didn't know.
How do you say it in English? Boyer.
Boyer.
Yeah. So there you go. And it might be an obvious answer, but I'll ask anyway. Who is the book for, and what should we expect from it?
Yeah, so this was a really fun project, and Dr. Boy, Stephanie and I were really good friends and colleagues, and we came to Bryant together the same year,
Mm.
and we've really done a lot of different projects together. But this one was really fun, and so the book is for really anyone who wants to build their professional brand, professional connections, any business entrepreneur, someone who wants to be an influencer or a thought leader, to someone just trying to get a job, right? So it really, and it's really great for students as well. So what it is kind of, it teaches fundamentals of building an online brand using social media. So we kind of take you on a 30-day journey, to start with kind of what are your talents, values, and passions, and how can you turn that into brands that you can kind of ignite using social media. So it takes you through platforms like LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, so you can reach a broader audience. And every chapter has kind of a little story of why it's important. It has a prompt for something that you should do. So there's a little assignment, and you can actually write in this book. It's like a journal or a workbook. There's spaces for you to write in every week or every day. And then there's like pro secrets to kind of help you save time and money. And it's really, these mini assignments help you kind of go through the process that I teach in my class. And I've assigned it this past semester. It came out, around the beginning of COVID in March. And I signed it in the class, and students loved it, right? Because it gave them the opportunity to build a portfolio. And now with kind of remote work gaining popularity, it gave them something to talk about, right? It gave them something to work on. So a lot of my students actually took the personal branding, obviously, to get a job, but they maybe created like an influencer brand, like a travel brand or a foodie brand. And they have launched that officially, right? Because they've been home, they've had some time to work on it. They've created a website and a blog, all their social handles. So it's been really cool to watch my students go through this. And it kind of goes like, when we use it in the classroom, we're going beyond like simulation, right? We're looking for, real world experience, real impact for the students. When they do a project for Coca-Cola, they know it's just kind of like a class project. They don't get a lot out of it. But for, I think the book's like $28, right? They make, real progress on their own brand. They learn like an intimate understanding of how to do social media for themselves, for a brand. And it also, actually, I should mention this, it incorporates a mastermind community. So it's called the Biz U Props Mastermind Group on Facebook. And that's a place where anyone who's read the book or had their hands on the book can network about anything related to digital marketing, social media. So it's become this little like community that we've built, and just a really actionable, workbook that people can go through. Because listen, if I just feel like, anyone could grab this book, and we've done a couple webinars to date now for all different types of people, organizations, and it's been really successful because it's an actionable workbook. It's not just this like book you read and okay, now how do I do it? It's a step by step. And if you go through the book, by the end, you have created your brand in most of the ways possible. So it's really exciting. It was fun to do.
You know what? I literally feel like right now, like my kids in a candy store, literally. Because everything that you just said, like, having it as a journal, as a workbook, kind of, and then helping your personal brand. Because with my podcast, I'm actually trying to do that, creating a brand for myself. And recently, what I've noticed also as a marketer myself, a lot of my clients have been reaching out to me and asking me about personal branding, about, because they're realizing that now, everybody has a voice. Everybody had a voice pre-COVID for sure. But now that networking, the traditional ways of networking, I used to be an avid networker. And I mean, like, I used to attend meetings on a daily basis, chambers of commerce, happy hours and everything, because that's how I met people. That's how I grew my business. But now, obviously, we can't do that, and we have to pierce through the clutter online, and the best way to do that is to create a brand for yourself. I can't wait to get the book. I ordered my copy, and I will for sure let you know if I have any questions or anything like that. I'm excited to join also the Facebook group and be part of that community. I think it's amazing, and I think all of us need something like this. This is definitely the future, but more like the present, because that's what we need to do now in order for us to prepare. But using also some of the things that you include in the book, and also your experience, obviously. What would be your best advice for a new brand, yeah, regardless of the industry,
Mhm.
launching their product online? And what do you think is the very first thing they should be thinking about, aside from buying the book?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so typically you'd think a brand, well, they've got their product or service, they've figured out who their audience is, and now they need to think about their branding, right? So the look and the feel and the tone and the colors and logo and all of that, grab all your social handles and develop a strategy. But I think there's more. And if you kind of, yes, follow the book, it takes you through a strategy that's so important. And um, the idea is you want to make sure that everything you do and the time that you spend is efficient and meaningful. So I always think that once you've developed your product, you've taken your audience's problems, into consideration, hopefully, and you've developed a solution. Now it's time, and this is what is missed a lot. It's time to map the customer journey and then develop your digital touch points, right? So you want to think about what's that journey you'd like to take your audience on from not knowing that you exist, right? Becoming aware all the way to consideration to conversion.
Hmm.
And once you have that down, you can start to design your digital strategy and develop the assets necessary to launch it. And people forget that, if you just merely post on social media, you are not going to grab the attention of people that don't know that you exist,
Hmm.
right? Because they wouldn't be following you. They wouldn't know. So you've
Hmm.
got to, target them, say, with ads. So when you map that journey, you're better able to understand what is the experience of my audience in different phases of the buyer journey, and what can I do to appeal to them and push them through that, that journey to ultimately conversion. And I do customer journey mapping with my clients, with my students, and it's so fun. And it's surprising that a lot of people don't think in these terms, but then we map the touch points, we look at the experience in each touch point, we look at the gap and areas for improvement, and then we get to work. And that's the first thing I do before I, really get involved with any client.
So you approach this like an architect, basically. You map it
Yeah.
out, right?
You got to have the strategy or
Yeah.
else you're kind of shooting in the dark, right? Let's see what's going to happen. No, let's follow this journey. And we can map it out. So I always have my students create campaigns in each phase. Let's create a campaign in awareness, a campaign in consideration, and a campaign to drive conversions. And then let's tie those into each other so that it's a fluid, journey.
This is so on point, and I think I have an example almost in every answer you give me, but because I have also a client that did not understand the concept of awareness, like literally a brand new brand, and after week number two, telling me that we haven't sold a unit yet, and it's I understand the other side. They're putting money out, they're investing their time, and all that stuff into a product, into a brand, and they want return as fast as possible. I'm going to ask you another question here. I want to ask you about you personally. If Are you active on social media? Do you use some of the things you learn in terms of building your own personal brand?
Yeah, absolutely. So I obviously have my own professional accounts like Prof Shar on Twitter and LinkedIn and my personal kind of Facebook and Instagram. But I also run a foodie influencer account on Instagram.
Mm.
It's Hangry Girl RI, so Hangry Girl underscore RI.
Hmm.
And it's been over 3 years now. And I've worked with hundreds of brands. Um, and I've learned, as much as I can about influencer marketing, working with brands, working with agencies. And it's been such a great experience, develop the site and the blog and I use that as an example throughout the book because it's been really what's helped me learn all these strategies. And it's been such a great experience, and I've had so much fun. I love to eat, so I was always taking pictures. I was always eating and taking pictures of my food. And I used to do like Yelp reviews. I was Yelp Elite, and it was very time consuming to write these reviews. And I, once kind of Instagram kicked off, I was like, let me just try to like post these pictures. My sister, she did Hangry Girl LA. And she started posting on Instagram. She's like, well, I'm just posting on Instagram. Come check it out. And I was like, all right, you're in LA. You do that. I'll start one in Rhode Island, and it'll be awesome. And now we have, what do we have? Hangry Girl New York, Chicago.
Oh, that's awesome.
PDM, Corona Del Mar. And then my husband's funny. So I would take the picture on my side and show him. And then he would take the picture across, the table. And he'd say his picture was better. And I said, well, then post it yourself if it's so great. So he started Hangry Dude.
What?
And I'll be perfectly honest, his pictures are pretty good. So it's just, we've had a lot of fun with it. I even made an Instagram account for my dog, Palm Chloe. So it's been, I'm having fun with it, but I'm learning and I'm using it to practice and try out all the new tricks. So it's been a lot of fun.
So are his pictures better than yours?
Debatable.
I just followed you, and it looks great. Makes me hungry a little bit.
Good. That's the point. That's the whole point.
But that's awesome. That's a great idea. Definitely gonna take a closer look after the interview. But yeah, that's great. And hangry girl, hangry dude, that you're starting a trend, and that's awesome. And it's funny because my latest episode is about power couples, and I don't know enough about you guys, but just you sharing that, is part of the process, right, of becoming, a power couple. And I try to also include my wife as much as possible into my passion, which is literally like creating and storytelling and communication. Absolutely. And marketing, which is what all of it, is about when you think about marketing. So that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. All right. So here's a question for you. Let's talk about the future a little bit. There is so much we can benefit from as marketers with the tools and analytics that we have access to today. But in the future, let's say 5 years from now, what do you anticipate it to look like? Like, for example, we have voice search that's going to be a major component of marketing strategies in the next couple of years. Do you see anything else that we should probably start preparing for, not only on the marketing side, of the marketer's side, I should say, but also on the business side?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's all about creating a unique and optimized customer experience, right? Mm-hmm. That's going to help us kind of foster relationships and build brand loyalty. Mm-hmm. So how can we do that? Some of the trends, I think, will be about automating our strategies, right? So AI, machine learning, neuromarketing, and consumer behavior, this customer experience, user experience, influencer marketing, right? And some of the kind of most in-demand skills are going to be, analytics, data and insights, user experience and design, machine learning, any sort of kind of marketing technology, right? And so marketing is going to be this technology hub. And the tools, it's going to be about, how can we use AI or machine learning for content delivery? How can we use it for data analytics and visualization? How can we use it for enhancing the customer experience and managing it? And social media and email marketing, their role is not going to fade, right? Email is still going to be the most kind of, I think, effective lead generation and customer nurturing tool, especially for small and medium-sized businesses. Mm-hmm. And you hit the nail on the head with voice search, right? Mm-hmm. We have to expect that users are going to start using voice. And so marketers are going to need to remember, to kind of write in a conversational tone and think about the keywords that consumers will speak rather than type. And ultimately, it's the idea of personalization, right? How can we create personalized marketing powered by the big data, AI, innovative technology. That's really going to start defining the way brands kind of communicate with their customers. And it's really the key to, successful digital marketing campaigns. So we're seeing, that capability, and it's only going to need to be enhanced in the near future. So it's really cool stuff, and it's really exciting. We have a taste of most of it, but it's really going to kick into high gear.
Very interesting. I think the key takeaway here is AI, and automation. This is, and that's why, like you said, like data and analysis and all that stuff is gonna play such a major role. Is because of the automation, you're gonna get so much more data, so you're gonna have to analyze that data to kind of like, shift or pivot if you have to, and adjust the automation based on the results that you're getting. So, man, that's awesome stuff. I can't wait. You know what? I'll take it back. I can, because it's been it's been a rough 2020 so far. So let's take it a day at a time. But Sharmin, I want to thank you so much for this interview. And again, I can't wait for the book. I will for sure be in contact with you. And aside from the Hangry Girl _RI, is there any other way that the audience can reach out to you and buy your book? How can we reach you?
Yeah, absolutely. My email is pretty simple. It's Professor Shar, SHAR @gmail.com. So you can also find me on LinkedIn. That's pretty easy. I'm on it all the time. And the book, if you just Google it, Little Black Book of Social Media, but it's also at the busyprofs.com website. And yeah, lots of ways. I'm very Googleable.
Googleable, nice.
Yeah.
Let's hashtag that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again, and enjoy the rest of your night. And we'll be in touch.
Thanks, Jeff. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too.
Thank you for listening to the Getting Social podcast. If you know a friend that would benefit from this episode, please share it. And remember to subscribe and review.